Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. It is April. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. And thank you so much for tuning in each and every Tuesday. We have an awesome show stacked up for you today. We're talking business principles. We're going to lead off with mindset in just a moment. Fantastic featured guest. Much more coming your way. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy April, everyone. Spring has sprung. Hopefully you're thawing out and getting everything sort of melted away and getting ready to get some motion, some movement in your practice, in your life. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to a great show.
Well, let's kick it off with our Mindset Mentor segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. This is our Mindset Mentor segment. And today's topic, Jason, what's your mindset about your mindset? We've been discussing over the course of this year thus far the importance of mindset and how really everything else stems from it. Today's topic, again, what's your mindset about your mindset? Explain what you mean by that question.
Sounds like a conundrum. If a tree falls in the woods. Now, this is a really important topic that obviously we start each week's show with because we know how important it is. Now, some people think of this as a soft skill. Some people think of it as, just not that relevant to the data-driven, ROI-focused, real, I'm a businessman kind of thought process. And there's a lot of, I'll say a big spectrum of beliefs as to how important this is or isn't. And we're going to keep doing everything we can each and every week to inspire you to have a mindset that your mindset matters. And one of the things my mentors taught me early on was a phrase that's just sort of tattooed into my brain, and that is, who you are determines how well what you do works. All right. And I guess a simple way of sort of thinking about that is you give the same instructions to the same, 10 different people, right? We can give the same tactic to 10 different chiropractors. And the reality is we oftentimes get 10 different outcomes or 10 different results. Now, they're all doing the same thing. They may be posting the same posts. They may be sending the same emails. They may be doing the same type of scripted presentation. What they're doing is technically the same. They're saying the same words, perhaps. You would think that if it was about what do I do, then everybody who does that thing takes that action. You would think that everybody would get very similar outcomes and results. And the reality is that's just not true. No different than you can do the same technique, same type of adjustment, whether it's an Atlas adjustment or whatever it may be, to 10 different people, and you too will often get 10 different outcomes. And the reason is because we're all unique and different. Now, is this just positive thinking? Is this just, I'm a good person, I'm going to make a lot of money, and you just reaffirm these things? Partially. Having positive affirmations is absolutely a good thing. But as I've done more and more studying of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and the classics, Anthony Robbins, Napoleon Hill, and many of the others that teach about success, and maybe even the line of success and spirituality, like somebody like Deepak Chopra, there is a consistent theme that your ability to visualize your future will create different thoughts, outcomes, even vibrations and connections to your environment than those that think from what we'll refer to as the predictable past. One of Tony Robbins' most important lines I've, learned over the years, I've done a lot of studying over the decades in this exact topic. The science of success has been something I've studied for as long as I can remember because it's an important topic to want to know about. And one of his sayings was, the past doesn't equal the future. And yet the more I do more and more work within Joe Dispenza's latest work and projects that he's doing, I find that that is a really, really important concept to pay attention to, because what Dr. Dispenza really focuses on is the concept that and even Bruce Lipton talks about this, is epigenetics. And I'll try to get technical without going too long-winded. But basically what they're saying is that you can have the difference between a piece of metal and a magnet. Now, what's the difference physically between a piece of metal and a magnet? And the answer is physically nothing's different. But the magnet has been energized in a particular way that creates a magnetic field, an energetic field. So things can be attracted to it or repelled from it because of its vibration and its energy. Well, in the body, your mind creates energy. What you focus on either can create a repel, right? There's certain people that just have that kind of attitude and that kind of mindset that they couldn't light up a room if the lights were on, right? They walk in and you immediately can feel their vibe, their vibration, their energy because of their mindset. And we know the opposite is true exactly as well. There are people that just simply walk in and their vibe, their vibration, their energetic signature just somehow makes everybody feel better without even having to say anything. This is something that can be cultivated. The idea that nobody seems to dispel the, statement that your thinking can make you sick. You can think yourself to death. If you are that constantly stressed out, if you do that long enough, Dispenza's, again, I'm giving him the credit. He says that your personality becomes your personal reality. That if you stay in the same energetic vibration, the same mindset, a mindset that is typically a memorization of the emotions of the past. Oh, I never get things right. Life is always so hard. I'm always getting screwed somehow. There's just never enough money. I'm always needing new patients. When you repeat these mantras over and over and over because you think your reality creates your beliefs, what Dispenza and Lipton will tell you is that your beliefs create your reality. Now, I know that's sort of a paradox. Well, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't think this way. But somewhere, somehow, there's a point in time where you sort of have that aha moment, that you recognize that I'm the one responsible for my thoughts. And another word for thoughts is focus. What do you focus your attention on? Because the latest research in science, the latest neurology, the latest brain health, the latest even conversations around meditation are all consistently saying that what you focus on, and one of the ways I love to think about this, I sort of taking some of their stuff and putting it into my own language, is that we have consistently used the term pay attention. Pay attention. And I want you to think for a moment, of paying, like you're paying with money, like you're actually paying your life, your mind, your brain, your awareness on a particular thing when you're paying attention to that thing. It hurts. It's hard. I need. Where's the money? Living in lack. Not enough love. Not enough connection. Your focus that you are paying attention to. And that's the point I'm trying to emphasize here, is that you choose what you focus on or what you pay attention to. And if you'll understand that very important nuance, I'm taking hours, probably 30 hours of videos I've watched just in the last 2 weeks of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and just trying to pull some nuggets and interpret them or reinterpret them for you, that I want to encourage you to think of paying attention as investing attention. See, when you pay for things, that's typically an expense, and that's a different mindset than when you invest in something. When you invest in something, you have a hope that you put something in now that's going to grow for the positive over time. So I want to just sort of leave you with this nugget that number one, your mindset matters. How you think, what you focus on, your attitude, your energy, your vibration, your personality, meaning who you've become as a byproduct of the accumulation of experiences, both good and probably more bad than good, depending on who you are and how you express yourself, is what causes you to feel the way you feel today. And that awareness means that you can pause and go, you know what? My past doesn't equal my future. Just because all these things happen to me, or even are still happening to me, doesn't change the reality and the fact that at any given moment in time, you can invest your attention into what you want your life, your practice, your relationships, your outcomes, your success to look like. And the mind and body work like a magnet with the energy field of life. Listen, you can't deny what's called sort of the quantum reality of life, the energetic vibrations. The fact that you can be next to one person and feel a real deep connection, we'll call it love. And you can be next to another person and feel this repel or this just disgust or whatever it may be because of the vibration. These things are all measurable by science and different types of neurological measuring devices. So this is not just woo-woo, my opinion. You can measure the brain. You can even measure the energy. Again, if you want to learn more about that, check out Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. But we want to kick off today's conversation in our Mindset Matters segment to remind you each and every week that how you invest your attention will have everything to do with your outcomes in the future. And if we have any advice, recommendations, or if you want to know what we do in order to ensure our best outcomes, ensure our best attitudes, ensure our best energetic attraction of the things we want versus the things we don't want, then it really requires our conscious effort to invest attention in the outcomes that you're looking for. So if you're looking for a practice that attracts your ideal clients and not just those deal shoppers that are willing to pay a really low price because you need more new patients yet again this month, over and over and over again, you want to set up a mindset and focus. It's a conscious, like working out at the gym, right? I don't care how big you are, how much working out you've done in the past. If you stop doing it, over time, you'll lose the benefit of it. And this is the same concept. Working out physically and meditating or clearing your mind mentally is the key to making sure that all the things we're going to talk about in the rest of the show, what do I do? What do I say? What are the best tactics? How are other people getting great results? It starts with your mindset, because we'll give you the tactics that we know work. But if you're not getting the results, the only real explanation is not something that's outside of you. It always comes from within. We know that philosophically. Health comes from within. Success comes from within. And there are more and more people that start experiencing this and start realizing what we might refer to as coincidence, but it's actually the scientific fact that we put off an energetic signature and we magnetize the good things and the not so good things into our life because of how we focus. So, Jeff, I don't know if any of that sort of strikes a nerve metaphorically in you or stimulates what you're thinking on. I know we talk more and more as I've been sharing and we've been talking together about, how do we visualize our future? What is the outcome we're looking for? If you're not sure, how do you get quiet enough to sort of listen to what's really going on inside? And how do you practice this enough? This is not a meditation where, I did it for 30 minutes. Where's my millions? Where's my dream partner? It is very much, I'll close with this concept because it's one of the most important things. We keep saying, teach and invite consistently, and that the most significant part of what you need to know is the consistency part. And that applies here as well. Just like we talk about, you can't go to the gym and work out for 9 hours and go, I'm in shape. You got to do basically 20 to 40 minutes, most days, every day, consistently. Consistency is the new intensity. Consistency and focusing on the things you want as opposed to the things you don't want will make a massive difference over time. It's like training a pet. Animals are going to be wild and crazy, but over time, if you'll keep stay, okay, and you keep on repeating that training, you will find those results over time. That's what I got to say this week on our Mindset Moment, Jeff. What comes up for you, buddy?
I love it. I think it's an important component for what docs need to be mindful of, and that is the consistency part that you brought up, but also just the desire, the ability to expand your current mindset and understand that there's more out there and stop placing those limiting beliefs. So taking off those blinders, reducing those limiting beliefs, connecting with those individuals that lift you up. It just goes so many ways. It goes to teach and invite consistently. It goes to radical accountability. It really crosses the chasm across personal development, but it all starts, as you said, within. I could not agree more. That was a fantastic kickoff to our Smart Chiropractor show. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll continue to explore it on subsequent episodes. I love it. Now let's get clinical. We're going to head over to our clinical conversation on today's episode of the Smart Chiropractor show. Smart Chiropractor Show. It is April 5th, 2022. Believe it or not, it is spring, and we are going to revisit a presentation from Axis 2021. Axis was our clinical online event. Stay tuned for details around Axis 2022 coming up shortly. We had a fantastic lineup for Axis 2021, including this presentation by Dr. Michael Longyear. He started this out, a tough word here. Dysmetria of movement and thought. I think I got that 100% correct, but we're going to tune in to the beginning of Dr. Longyear's presentation. He is a professor at Life University. This presentation was a highlight of Axis 2021. We'll give you a little taste on today's Smart Chiropractor show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Axis Chiropractic Clinical Care Summit. My name is Dr. Michael Longyear, and I'm going to share some things with you today, hopefully to help improve some patient outcomes and maybe change the way you look at a few things in the office. So if you look at the title of this, Dysmetria of movement, movement being there in quotation marks, this is going to be about mental health and how emotions and thoughts really tie into our movements and how we evaluate things. You know, as chiropractors and, physical therapists or doctors, we all work, with patients in different ways, but we all look at things or look at the patient at the same time, right? So what we're going to do is kind of uncover some things that we found out in working with different populations about how mental health is really showing up in the office. And this is something that's kind of been a project of mine for a while now. And it started looking at patients with concussive injuries or traumatic brain injuries. But now with where we're headed in our world today, with everything we've just gone through, and I'll show you guys some statistics here as we unravel this, the mental health epidemic is coming. So we'll kind of jump right in here. 40 minutes is not a long time to unravel a lot of things with mental health and brain, but we'll do our best to kind of give you some clinical pearls here as we go. So first, I like to start with this because this is the other side of the coin, right? If we can better understand what happiness is, I think it gets us to where depression and anxiety and those kind of things come from. So I love this statement just as a general, simple way of looking at happiness or mental health in general. So happiness is when reality is better than our expectations. And, we look at the areas of the brain or we look at the areas of the nervous system that are involved in both of those things, reality and expectations. And they are two very different parts of the brain, but two areas that have to be very good in their communication, very efficient in their communication, and really able to unravel together. So, looking very specifically at this, what is reality and where is that made up? When it comes down to it, our brain or our reality is a lot of things. It's conglomeration of all the sensory signals that we take in, whether it's through our eyes, through our muscles and our joints, about our joint position sense and things like that. You've got things like your vestibular system in the inner ear, all the touch receptors all over your body. They take in all of the sensory input that's coming into you. And then we take all that input and we've got to form what our opinion of the reality of our world is. Right? Well, there's another piece to that puzzle. Every past event, everything that's ever happened to you, all of your emotions, your memories, all of those things are going to overlay that sensory input, and they're going to determine what the lens is, so to speak, that you view the world with. There's a ton of quotes, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right, you are what you see in the world, or all of those different things kind of give us a peek into that about how the neurophysiology of that works. Your opinion of what's going on changes the way you're viewing a certain situation going on, right? And I'm sure we've all had experiences where when we're having a really good day, everything just seems to kind of roll and go well, because you walk into the day with a little bit of happiness, you greet everybody in that way, and different doors open up for you, versus if we have a bad day or we're feeling really crappy when we roll out of bed, our world maybe puts up barriers that we can't overcome. So some of that is the lens with which we view the world. is kind of our mood or our personality and where we're at. And that's what forms, that's all of our reality, right? It's what we're taking in or what we're viewing of what we're seeing going on around us. And then our expectations are what we expect out of that. So again, if you wake up and you're used to seeing crap all the time, you're going to have maybe crappy or lower expectations. But when these two things can sync up and you can really supersede this and reach beyond or have the confidence and the courage to reach outside and look at those things, you can get whatever you want. But when those things start to fall short, that's when we start to fall off a little bit. So when our brain isn't able to predict what's going to happen and then be able to compensate for that as well, when it's not efficient at doing those things, that's when we can start to have some depression or some mood changes, right? So we see it from both sides. Our reality can form our expectations, and then not meeting those expectations can change our reality. So it's this cycle that kind of continues to go around and around. And what we're realizing is brain health is at the kind of the core of this. And that's why I really, think it's an awesome time to be a chiropractor with everything that we're doing, especially with neurology and the brain and neuroscience and kind of where we're at with all of this stuff. Is the science is just, it's changing daily, and it's amazing. All of the research that's coming out and the way we're changing our view on how the brain works and how our brain interacts with others and the environment. It's really cool time to be involved in all of this and to see how that is. Because as chiropractors, we're affecting a lot of these areas of the brain, and we'll kind of unravel that as we continue to go here. First, let's just start with some depression facts, and most of these are pre-COVID. So, over 18 million people report depression symptoms. It's the leading cause of disability in the age groups of 15 to 44. So this is something that's affecting everybody, whether people are talking about it or not. This is affecting you. Someone dies from suicide about every 13 minutes in this country, and that's a scary statistic. And most suicides that mostly comes from things like depression. And depression isn't even the number one mental illness that's out there. Anxiety actually is the number one reported one. But most people that have anxiety also report depression. Now, two kind of different areas of the brain, two different sides of the brain, if you will, for depression and anxiety. Anxiety is more that classically thought of as that more ramped up feeling, or kind of, running and not able to calm down or really relax. Whereas depression is that person, like this picture here with the girl, kind of looking out the window, very sad, very lethargic, more so. Anxiety classically associated with like that racing heart or being all anxious and ramped up, whereas depression is more the wanting to stay in bed, sleeping through their alarm, and those kind of things. So two different parts of the brain, but the reality is when you talk to people about this, they have trouble discerning whether or not it's anxiety or depression, especially when you start to chat with patients. So we need to maybe do a better job of unraveling which one of these it is, because it helps to clue in some of the areas of the brain that we can work with. Now, this is something, like I said, we kind of came upon working with mental health on accident. And I think everybody else, we're going to start having that happen too. Whether you want to work with mental health or not, especially right now, it's going to start walking in your office. So, I mean, if you just look at these numbers, millions of people across the United States struggle with this. 18% of the United States struggles with anxiety on a daily basis. And now it's only getting worse with the coronavirus stuff. This stat is from the middle of the coronavirus, but more than half of the people who lost a job said they were suffering with mental health issues. But even 40% of the people that didn't lose a job or income were suffering from mental health problems as well. So even the people that didn't necessarily get affected economically, and we know now that we're kind of on the other side of all of this, the isolation and kind of putting people in a box, not the best thing for mental health. We're the type of animal or creature that needs interaction with others for our brains to be healthy. We need to have that social connection with people, and not necessarily in a 2D virtual world. We need it in a 3D environment where we actually get to be around each other, hang out, touching each other. Those are big things for our energy, for our brains, for our bodies, and for our nervous systems ultimately. I've always kind of described it like this: the Zoom meetings and the virtual, getting to hang out with people, it was okay to kind of get us through some things, but we need to return back to normal with that. It's like if you look at a postcard of a really beautiful landscape, you can probably imagine the smells and the sounds and all that kind of stuff. Let's say it's at the bottom of a mountain with a nice little lake at the bottom and a tree. And you can almost even picture yourself sitting there. That's a 2D experience. You can run through some different pathways in your brain. And like I said, you can even close your eyes and imagine that you're there. But, being in that environment is totally different. You get to hear everything for real. You actually get to smell the smells. You get to, experience the feel of the grass or the ground underneath you, and, see things at a depth that's different. The depth of involvement of your brain is greater with that 3D or 4D experience than it is, in that virtual environment, so to speak. So that's a big reason why I think a lot of people, 54% by these numbers had depression because they lost a job, but even 40% of the people that weren't affected also had some issues. And this kind of the newer numbers as far as anxiety and depressive disorder, 11% in 2019, all the way up to 41% in January of 2021. So this is the next epidemic or pandemic or whatever you want to say, especially as we start to have this not be as taboo of a subject, right? We're starting to understand that people need to be able to talk about this. Mental health isn't necessarily a weakness. It's something we need to start paying attention to. And we need to have better options, because right now, if you look at, this is actually an old article out of the Rolling Stone. If you look over Ed Sheeran's right shoulder where it says the psychedelic miracle, the drugs they created for depression and anxiety aren't much different than they were in the 1940s. So their options or their thoughts is, let's use ayahuasca, MVMA, psilocybin to treat mental illness, to treat things like depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. So ayahuasca is a hallucinogenic cactus. MDMA is ecstasy, essentially, and psilocybin's magic mushrooms. They are running out of options, right? So we're basically starting to use in micro doses, right? Don't get me wrong, they're not taking people on a trip, but they're trying to micro dose these people to help with their mental health, right? So that's their answer is, let's use street drugs and see if we can get there. But we're going to microdose it. Everyone I know that has been given that as a microdose just saves up their doses and uses them all on Saturday night. Seriously. So we're kind of giving people the ability to self-medicate or use street drugs now. And my experience has been they're using them the same way you would use them, recreationally, as opposed to using them for mental health.
Powerful presentation there from Dr. Longyear, and a really important topic. And these are the clinical topics that we strive to bring out and highlight in our Axis event, because we're all out there taking care of people. The lines between mental health and physical health have blurred, and we are all one. And the dynamics between those two are something all of us should be mindful of. And you probably have heard the opioid epidemic is a chronic pain epidemic, and all of these things, mental health ties right into that, because how we're feeling, kicking off with the mindset, how we're feeling can definitely manifest physically and vice versa. And we've always thought of these as two things interplaying to each other. However, I think as time goes on, we continue to discover and learn, Jason, that this is all one. What was your big takeaway from Dr. Longyear's presentation?
It's super valuable. I'm glad you chose to share this one this week. There's mental health is affecting us, ourselves, our family members, people in our offices, people on our staff, on our team, let alone the people coming into your practice looking for help. And there is a connection between how we think and how we feel. There is a connection that allows this to start bringing the conversation about what chiropractic really is into the forefront. We work with the nerve system. We work, therefore, with the brain. Our emotions are connected to our brain function, our interference in our spine, all of that, motion, movement, lack of movement. These are just cycles that if we don't interfere with and adjust, realign, and get onto a positive path, will continue to spiral in the negative path that it continues to go. The only solution that really appears to be out there for most people most of the times is medication, which of course most of us would know isn't really a solution. And I just think it's a great topic and a great opportunity for us as a profession to grow, to expand, to communicate in more creative ways to really help more people with this issue. And in some cases, it may be as simple as their mental health concern is a byproduct of their chronic physical pain. That is one of the ways people certainly have mental health issues, and maybe one of the more popular ones. If you've ever lived in chronic pain yourself, it's no wonder that people do live with chronic pain as long as they do under the circumstances they do. It's miserable. So it may be one of the more popular reasons why people do have mental health issues, amongst many others. We have a perfect opportunity to be of more service to more people when we can communicate our truth and teach and invite people consistently about how their bodies work, how their brains work, how their minds are connected to their emotions, and what role they have and what opportunity you have to help them get where they want to go. So great topic, super important, probably never been more relevant. And I'm afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better, predicting the world the way I see it at the moment.
I agree with you there, Jason. Everybody listening and watching, this is a great topic to dive back into. Access 2021, you can access it via the Smart Chiropractor. So head on over to the Smart Chiropractor and be on the lookout for Access 2022. Coming up later this year, we'll have details. And a huge thank you to Dr. Longyear for a great presentation, a timely presentation, and something all of us as chiropractors and as people of the world should be mindful of. So let's head over to what we're talking about this month and specifically this week within the Smart Chiropractor on our Research That Matters segment. Smart Chiropractor Show. It is April, which means we have a new monthly campaign. If you've been following along with the Smart Chiropractor, we have an annual calendar of topics. Those annual calendar is broken up into monthly campaigns, weekly topics, and daily posts. We utilize all the most popular channels, your blog, social, email, you name it, to make sure that you are teaching and inviting at the highest level. And we love our members that are out there taking that active extra step. We're going to provide you with those video scripts so you can get after it, shoot those videos, break through that fear, and connect with more people. But we just changed over to April. So we have a new monthly campaign, and this one's all around auto accidents. So auto accidents is our April monthly campaign for the Smart Chiropractor. Why is that the case? There's a lot of accidents that happen, and whether or not you are a PI focused practice or not, there are people in your community and in your practice that are likely to get into car accidents. I'd say this year, but I'm going to pull it back and probably say this week if you see enough people in your practice. And this weekly topic we're devoting to whiplash. It is how these injuries can cause chronic pain. And this is a very, very important topic because many people, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was, I just got into a little fender bender. And we all know as chiropractors now, we see those people 20 years later and we take an image, we're assessing what's going on movement-wise, and what was thought to be a little issue long ago now is a big issue today. And a lot of this comes down to vehicles are big, heavy, and move fast. And you are either the target vehicle or the bullet vehicle, as they say. And in either case, there are a ton of forces that are impacting the person and the vehicle anytime that there is a collision. And while safety belts have done a wondrous job saving a tremendous amount of lives over the last 50 plus years, they can contribute to whiplash injuries. When you are stabilized here, and now you're getting that flexion, extension, flexion in rapid succession with the forces that take place even with small accidents. This is a big deal, and we see the ramifications from it often later on, but certainly it's a great topic to be in front of in your community for those individuals getting into accidents today, tomorrow, next week. We wish none of it happened. It's a fact of life. And it's important, in my opinion, for us as chiropractors to lead that conversation because the question becomes, if not you, who? Who do you think is going to lead that conversation and give them the best, most accurate information around not only how they can recover and how they can heal, but if they've had something occur in the past, how they can take proactive steps today, tomorrow, to ensure that that does not catch up with them in the future. Jason, car accidents, whiplash, big topic. We have all month to explore it, so we'll have some fun, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the first most important thing for many chiropractors as you start hearing this conversation is there's probably two audiences of chiropractors out there. There are those that actively work with personal injury cases. Maybe you work with attorneys. You get excited about having personal injury cases come on in, not because of the injury, but because they often pay well. They reimburse very well in many cases. And for those of you that choose to work in the personal injury space because it does pay very well, again, in most states, most of the time, this is an exciting topic for you. But I want to make sure that those people, and there's plenty of practices that do not actively work with personal injury cases and attorneys and insurance and so on. I want to make sure that you don't shut down and say, this topic isn't for me, because it is, and here's why. What we're saying, what this topic teaches, is the impact of car accidents, specifically whiplash this week, on chronic pain. And the question isn't, are you in pain now? And did you have a car accident recently? The question you might want to ask people as you hopefully start teaching and inviting and getting out there and doing videos and even communicating in your practice, table talk, making sure people got their research that matters, newsletters via email, watching the slides on your screen. That is really the beautiful part of sort of this metaverse of information, right? And all the different places that you're sharing information, this is your coordinated monthly conversation. And the conversation you may want to have, if you're not a PI practice, is to start asking people the question, have you ever been in a car accident? Because one of two things is going to happen if you've ever been in a car accident. Either you've been in a car accident years ago, maybe even decades ago, and you've had the injury that never necessarily healed properly, and you have chronic pain. Or you were in a car accident, never healed properly, and you're not in chronic pain, but it might be inevitable considering the understanding of the mechanisms of injury and the impact that has on your neurology. So teaching people about how their body works is the name of the game in today's world. You'll hear us say it in a variety of different ways, that educating people about chiropractic is really a method of teaching people what you sell, what you make money from doing. And that's what has worked in the past when people had health insurance, that they really didn't have to value what you were doing, as in pay out of pocket. They could just go, my insurance will cover it. It's free. You're going to make me feel better? Sure, put it on my tab. I don't even care. Charge them as much as you want. That's a different conversation than most chiropractors are having in today's world. In today's world, people have to have some value. Why am I going to take my time to either leave the house I work from home at and actually go out in the wild to your practice, or make the time in their commute or whatever it is? Very few people have free time any longer. So they've got to make the time, number one, let alone afford the prices, afford the cost. High deductibles, high copays often means a lot of money out of pocket. All of that translates into people need to value what you do above and beyond temporary pain relief. Why? If your only conversation is focused on pain relief, you've got one of two options. The pain goes away and they leave and say thank you, or the pain doesn't go away and they leave and don't say thank you. If that's the limit of your conversation, then that is a choice versus those types of practices that teach people about how your body works. And the more people learn about how their body works, the more people learn about the devastating effects of interference in their nerve system, the impact of the interference in the mind-body connection, however you choose to articulate or teach people about their bodies, once they recognize how their body works and the potential they have to heal themselves, most normal, rational thinking people then ask themselves or ask you, well, how do I get this thing to work the way it's supposed to, the way you're teaching me? And oftentimes the answer to that question is your services. But that's when they're asking because they're curious, not when you're trying to teach them about something that you have a benefit from. It may be a very subtle concept for many of you, but it actually makes all the difference of the world. Are you selling your services, or are you teaching people to want what you have because of how they can benefit? Those are two different conversations. Stay tuned if you want to learn more about those nuances. Great topic, whether you are a PI practice or not.
Plenty of people getting into accidents, a big conversation to be had, lots of nuanced details around it. As you said, Jason, we're going to explore it all month long. But Smart Chiropractor members, I'm going to throw out a challenge to you. Take the video script, shoot your first video if you haven't shot one this week. If you have been shooting them, stay consistent. Keep it going. Keep that train going down the tracks, because shooting video is one of the most powerful ways you can connect with people in your community. And we make it super easy by giving you everything you need to get started. So April is going to be all around car accidents. We'll be back next week to talk about our new weekly topic within this monthly campaign. So we're going to have some fun with it. We hope you join us. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Jason?
Let's just invite people as they do those videos to share them with us. Hopefully, if you're part of the Smart Chiropractor, even if you're not, if you're doing videos that are teaching and inviting consistently, make sure you're in our private Facebook group, the Smart Chiropractor private group. And if you're already a member, great. If you're not, you'll have to knock, knock. We'll let you in because it's for Smart Chiropractors. And share your videos. Let people comment. Either you're really good at it and you should let people see what's possible, or you're in the learning phase and you're like, I don't really know. I'm a little self-conscious. I'm not sure this is really good. You know what? It is more valuable for people to hear what you have to say than it is for you to get your feelings hurt or your ego a little bit bruised or whatever. And nobody does their best videos when they start off. Nobody. So take the challenge, do some videos, get them out there, but share them with us. And if you want feedback, let us know. If you don't want feedback, just share them. Go, hey, this is what I did. I hope something good happens, and probably will, because results follow action, as Jeff always says. But if you want some feedback, ask for it. Hey, what do you think? Is there something I could have done better here? And if there's something specific you want to know, ask specific questions. That's the power of the community. That's the power of connecting with other smart chiropractors. That's part of the benefit of being part of the Smart Chiropractor tribe. Listen, if you're in sports, you video yourself, you get feedback, you watch yourself, and you only get better. We're looking for smart chiropractors who just want to keep on improving, both for their own sense of improvement, but because the better communicator you are about these important topics in your community, the better it is for your community. And the better it is for your community, got a sneaking suspicion, the better it's going to be for your practice. So take the challenge, put your ego back behind you. Think of the benefits people will experience by hearing you, and not the emotional frustration, tension, maybe even fear of getting out there and speaking up. If Jeff said it earlier, if not you, who?
That's it. Got to break through that fear. This segment has been brought to you by The Smart Chiropractor. If you would like to attract more of your ideal new patients, improve your retention, and get a nice flywheel of reactivations without spending any money on advertising, visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com. Again, that is thesmartchiropractor.com. Jason, I think it's time to see some of this in action. Today, we're not going to highlight a video, but we are going to highlight one of our members that is doing some fantastic work online in our member highlights segment, and it's coming up right now. Member highlights on the Smart Chiropractor show. I'm gonna bring that up right there. All right, we got it on screen, and this is our first two-time guest, I'm gonna say, because we're highlighting Dr. James Chapman of Dynamic Chiropractic in Rehab. A little while back, we highlighted how he was utilizing his LinkedIn profile to drive traffic to his blog. Today, we're going to see exactly what he's doing on Facebook. I'm going to screen share right here and bring up Dr. Chapman's Facebook page. And you can see right here, he is building and growing. He does not have 1 million followers. He is building and growing this page currently. You can see some of our posts right there. I'm going to go up to the top real quick so everybody can see exactly what's going on. He utilizes our Facebook header. Great job. He's got a nice headshot of himself right there. I love that. People get to connect with you. Great job, Dr. James. We move on down here. He's got his information filled in throughout that about section. But what we're going to take a look at is right here. Now, this is from last week, and it was the Do Athletes Need a Chiropractor? This was our 5th week of our March campaign, which is all around sports chiropractic. And Dr. Chapman is doing a great job utilizing his Facebook page to also drive traffic to his website. So a few weeks ago, we highlighted how he was using LinkedIn. Today, we're highlighting how he's utilizing Facebook. And this is the beautiful spider web that you can build when you have the same conversation going out across multiple platforms. When you have a similar conversation going on on your screens, in your reception area, across your Facebook page, on your website, through your LinkedIn channel, and more, these things can start to play together in a meaningful way. And as he continues to build, grow, and develop his Facebook page, he'll be able to continue to drive more and more traffic to his website. Well, guess what? Dr. Chapman uses our opt-in on his website, so he's able to collect more email addresses from those visitors to his website. Well, guess what? Then he's able to have our Chiro email system automatically follow up with those individuals, which, guess what? Helps more people understand who he is, what he does, and that results in fuller schedules. That results in more of his ideal patients coming in. Of course, it touches all three phases of the patient journey, from new patients to retention to reactivations. Jason, I love to see it when our members are utilizing the full ecosystem of tools. They're utilizing things in a way that is together, and that is when 1 + 1 = 11, as they say, instead of 2. What are your thoughts on what Dr. James is up to?
I think it's just fantastic. You say it all the time: results follow action. Taking action is what it's all about, but taking smart action. I think I just got a comment here that if you're watching, don't get overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, I can't do that. I don't have all those different things in place. That sounds like so much work, so much effort. You want to think about these tools as a toolkit. And, no builder goes, okay, I've got to use every tool in my toolkit today. They go, what am I looking to build? And then do I have the tools I need to build that thing? And that's really the beauty of all of the resources that you receive. What I want to just point out that I really love about what Dr. James is doing is it's clear that he's a long-term thinker. And this is important because this goes to, we talk about oftentimes mindset, and we talk about sort of how you're showing up. We talk about making sure that you can afford to tell the truth. What that means is that you're not in the situation that many chiropractors are in, which you're desperate to need new patients for the money. So you sort of do what you need to do to get immediate gratification and quick relief. Kind of sounds like a drug. And that's the point here, is that if you're the kind of chiropractor that internally, authentically believes that health is a lifestyle, then that metaphor, that philosophy should carry over into your practice communications. Practice marketing with the message of quick relief, as in, what do I need to say to get them in now because I need more new patients, is very much the same type of addictive drug as somebody who says, listen, I'm sure I should get adjusted. I'm sure I should move. I'm sure I should do all those things, but it just hurts so bad. I need immediate relief now. That is a mindset as to how you choose to focus and what actions you choose to take. And we all know that, yes, there may be times where you need immediate gratification and immediate measures, but until you put these long-term thinking projects in place, one at a time, start with your blogs, then go to LinkedIn, then set up your email opt-in so that people can start getting your newsletter. This is, as Jeff said, like a spider web. It goes one round at a time, but in time, you build something large that has the ability to collect, connect, trap in a positive way, be able to connect with a large audience of people that happen to be flying through your web, so to speak, metaphorically. So great long-term thinking, great taking action. He's not just saying, okay, I did one, now I can sit back and not do anything. He keeps on building more and more circles around and around and around. And the bigger your web, the more you will attract and connect. Great job, Dr. James. I look forward to seeing what you keep doing next. And I look forward to seeing when you're watching, what you do. These are all designed to be what Jeff and I refer to as Roger Bannister moments. And what that means to us is that oftentimes chiropractors get overwhelmed, confused, just don't understand how this ecosystem of different tactics works and works together. And so instead of getting confused, what we want to do is say, you see this? You see this chiropractor? You see this Facebook page or this website or this LinkedIn page? You see that? If they can do it, you can do it. This is how easy it is for them. This is how easy it can be for you. And it dispels the myth that that's too much. I can't. Nobody can do that. I'm not like them. When you see other chiropractors just like you taking action and getting results and doing it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, step after step after step after step. Great job, James. And take action, everyone. That's why we do this, is to let you know if he can do it, you can do it.
Very well said. And again, great job, Dr. James Chapman, Dynamic Chiropractic and Rehab. You are taking action. You will see the results, and you're utilizing the tools across all of your different platforms. Well done. We'll be back next week with another member highlight. But right now, we're going to head into our featured guest segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Hello and welcome to the featured guest segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. It is April 5th, 2022, and today we are going to visit a chat that Jason and I had with Dr. Melissa Longo just a few weeks back. You might know her from Rockstar Doctor Life podcast, and this is all about breakthrough marketing strategies and tactics. Dr. Melissa coaches chiropractors. She has a great podcast. She is still in practice as well, and we were able to explore a variety of topics. This is a conversation you're going to want to tune into, and we are going to play it for you right now. Hey, Doc. Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch, and we have our featured guest interview on today's Smart Chiropractor Show, Dr. Melissa Longo, somebody I've known for a little bit through the podcasting community. Melissa, thanks for taking the time and coming on with us today.
Hey, I love doing this kind of stuff. Thanks for having me, guys.
You are more than welcome. I want to kick it off with a question relative to that. You have interviewed hundreds of people over the course of a few years, and I would be curious to know, what's a takeaway that you've learned from interviewing hundreds of docs over the last few years on Rockstar Doctor Life podcast?
Oh my gosh, just one? The first thing that comes to mind would be that you truly can create the life and practice that works for you. I mean, look at you. You've done research. You're helping docs market. I just know when your interview with me, Jeff, I mean, your transition and your journey as a chiropractor. I mean, I've heard so many different stories, docs that have big practices, docs that have small practices, doctors that have taken their skills and transformed it into teaching people online. I mean, you name it, you can do it. You can write your own blueprint for how you want to help people in the world with your skills as a chiropractor. And that's pretty darn exciting to me.
It is super exciting to all of us. And one of the things we look to, hopefully highlight, Melissa, is your experience. A lot of chiropractors get intimidated, overwhelmed. They get, paralysis by analysis. I've got to have the best mic, the best lights, the best everything. And since I don't, I won't do anything.
Yeah.
Would you talk to us about, I guess, first how has it been for you? I know you do programs online, podcasts, social media for both chiropractors to learn from you, but also for your practice, for people to learn about what you do, learn about health, learn why you're not just a chiropractor, but you're you and different and unique. Share with us whatever you can about, how effective has that been? I know a lot of chiropractors think marketing is advertising, and they pretty much stay in the wheelhouse of, I pay you, you send me patients, and if there's a, good ROI calculation, we'll keep doing it. If there's not, we won't. But they don't take into consideration some of the larger, sort of picture of what type of people do advertisements bring in versus people who learn from you or listen to you on a regular basis. I think you know what I'm asking. What do you think chiropractors need to know about this?
Oh gosh, there's so many things to add there. I'm with you 100%. I often say to my clients, overthinking leads to inaction. If you get stuck thinking you don't know enough, you're not good enough, you don't have all the right gear, then two things happen. One, you never do anything with all the knowledge you have inside you, but the world doesn't benefit from it either. So I'm a jumper. For me personally, I started podcasting 2015. So 6 years ago with one little show. Then it grew into another show. I mean, I did television before that, made tons of mistakes doing that. I think that you learn through experience and you grow with your business. I remember when I first started my podcast for chiropractors, I was nervous. I mean, every time I've launched something, I've been nervous because you're putting yourself out there. Anyone can listen to you. We know now with cancel culture and all this crap like trolls, like you're open, you're vulnerable to attacks. But you have to believe that your message and your mission for what you want to do in the world is greater than that, and you've got the right people to support you. So it can be super simple. I started my first podcast with my Apple headset and Skype, and I paid a coach to teach me how to do it. And then I have someone. I don't like doing the tech stuff. I just like creating the content. So I have someone who actually produces my podcast. But that's all that I invested. It didn't cost a lot. It wasn't a lot of tech. And, over 5 years, I've added things to it, but some of the stuff has stayed really, really simple, whether it's been the podcast I've got almost 300 plus shows with all the shows combined. I've got 4 podcasts, which have then evolved into, my work for chiropractors has evolved into mastermind programs and coaching groups and one-on-one consulting for people and a branding company and a new program I just launched. And I coached for another company that taught doctors how to do that. Within my practice, it was simple things like just doing a podcast, repurposing content that I already had created, workshops I had given, handouts of the week that I just started, recording to give another media for people to digest the content. And it just gives you more leverage and there's a lot of ease to it. And it can be really, really simple. And that just adds more credibility to you in your practice. And people love it. It's easy for you to get in their heads a little bit more and repeat the same message when they can access you through an email, through seeing you in your practice, through listening to you through a video. So, now the time is bigger than ever. I feel like as a healthcare professional, 20 years for me that I've been a chiropractor, we've always been passionate about sharing health and wellness. But now the last 2 years, there's such a demand for it more than ever. And now's the time docs have to step up.
What do you notice to be the difference in the type of people or, the expectations of people who come in, randomly off of an advertisement versus somebody who's like, Dr. Longo, I've been listening to your podcast. I've been learning all about what you've been trying to teach me. I'm ready to get going. How would you describe to chiropractors that not all new patients are the same? What have you noticed to be the difference?
Night and day. When I get people that come in because they saw something on Google, like great, SEO is working, but they are not necessarily my fit. And, I love that you bring this up because I think, we're running businesses. I want the right people that appreciate my skill set, my clinical technique, my vibe. Just the other day, I referred someone here, a new person to my chiropractor, because I could just tell they were not really going to fit. So I think getting really, really clear on who you serve and what you're best at. Those are foundational pieces that I've learned even from my guests on the podcast. Like you get to create that. I know what I'm best at in my practice and the vibe that I love coming to my practice because it makes me happy because it's filled with all the amazing people. Night and day. People hear your voice. People connect with you. I've been at airports where I've had people stop me. Oh, you're rockstar doctor. I'm like, oh yeah, I am. And, it builds connection because they feel like they know you because they've listened to you over and over again. So it's a big difference, big difference.
It's so powerful because we always talk about teaching and inviting consistently, right? Getting out there, teaching your audience something educational, inspiring, and then doing that consistently and having the invitation, that call to action in there. One thing that I'd love for you to explore with us a little bit is sort of that jump. Again, I think for a lot of chiropractors, it does feel like a jump. Okay, they're used to treating, using their hands, seeing patients in practice, but then going to potentially an online program, creating something that generates revenue without having to be bent over the treatment table is a big jump for a lot of docs to conceptualize, to even just know where to get started. Can you maybe just touch on your sort of early journey? How did you put those pieces together? What got you interested in it to begin with? And maybe just dive back to a little bit of the origins of how you started to look at online business in addition to brick and mortar business.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it starts with where you're at in your practice, in your personal life, just like we're always learning as docs, your clinical interests change, then you read a new book, then you start talking about it in your practice. For me, it was the same. When I started my podcast 5 years ago, the ages of my boys, I was female, I was a single mom, trying to grow my practice. And I remember listening to a podcast and hearing these guys talk about, do this and do that. And I was like, that's awesome information. But let me tell you, the moms out there don't have time for that. We're growing our practices in a different way. Not better, not worse, just different. And I felt there was a gap at that point in time for women in my profession, in chiropractic. So that was my first motivation. It was all coming from just my heart and soul. Like there needs to be more female leadership and more female conversations. And so that's how it started. And I had no business model around it. I just was like, I want to have conversations because I want to learn how other women in chiropractic are growing their practices and balancing being the holistic, hands-on mom, that they want to be. So it started with a personal heart-centered mission. And I think that's where docs really should check in with themselves. If they have any kind of inkling, it doesn't have to be necessarily even in health. I've worked with docs who are looking to increase, kids' resilience in sports because their child was bullied at a hockey rink. And so they've had a passion for that. and they want to support and build programs online and work with other professionals to teach that. I mean, we've worked with clients who want to just are really passionate about all kinds of the different food programs, fasting and keto, like anything that's close to your heart. So I would tell docs watching or listening, like start with where you're at and think about what are the common questions you get in your practice? What do you find yourself curious to learn more? What gets you excited? You know, because then learning all the tech stuff and building it becomes it's not effortless, but it becomes easy because you're excited about it. I mean, when I first started my podcast, you know, the names started to come together, the creative, the messaging people, the booking interviews, my schedule getting full, like those things were easy to accommodate because I was lit up and I was excited to do it. And I wouldn't keep doing it if it still didn't make me happy to do it. So I think it starts with finding your, you know, it sounds kind of cliche, but what are you passionate about? And it doesn't have to only be within healthcare. I mean, people need our help in whatever areas that we're passionate about.
You are so right. And I would love for you to expand a little bit more on what you started right there, which is, you know, a lot of times the how is easy when you know your why, which is what I heard you just pretty much say. When you've got something you want to share that you know is important, that you're passionate about, as you say, close to your heart, when you understand the value, the benefit of sharing that with others, when you got your why, the how becomes easy. Oh, I use this technology, that microphone, these lights, got it, easy. What would you say to chiropractors about the benefits of doing it? You know what most chiropractors are listening for. Is my life going to be easier? Am I going to make more money? Is this going to complicate things? You know, what's the benefit? What's in it for me if I invest the time and energy to learn this skill set and share this information? So how would you answer that? What was in it for you, and what do you see the benefits of, you know, for other chiropractors who sort of do what they should be doing? As Jeff mentioned, we call it TIC, teach and invite consistently. Doctor means teacher. We've all lost sight of the fact that doctors are here to profess their understanding of health, wellness, and well-being. Everybody's just sort of dumb everything down to more new patients, get on, you have insurance, you don't have insurance, and they've lost sight of the bigger picture. What are you finding to be the benefits of getting back to those types of basics and, you know, really focusing on your passion?
It's a really easy way to keep your retention high, right? And it's another wow experience. It's retention, it's growth, it's organic growth. I mean, my practice grows with flow. I have online booking. I have all kinds of things that make my life very much more streamlined and simple as my practice was. I just had the best year in practice ever last year with all this stuff going on in the greater world. And let me tell you how much marketing I do. Like, I don't do a lot of paid marketing. My marketing is getting on social media. I mean, I'm confident and comfortable enough doing quick videos, talking about health. You know, when we had to close for 10 weeks in 2020, I started a Facebook group, a private Facebook group for my community so that I could stay in touch with my community of people. That was easy, you know, and it gave me a purpose and something to do every day when I wasn't in my practice. So there's so many little ways that you can add these kind of wow experiences to your practice to help them connect with you. I mean, we all know that when people like and trust us, they're going to be more likely to take our recommendations. They want to work with you because they believe in you and they believe that you can help them. And it's so sad, you know, when we get people in our practices that have lost hope. We get them all the time. You know, sometimes we're their last resort for some people, and everyone has told them this is just going to get worse. Well, no, your life can change. And when they build that trust and connection with you, they have hope again. And now more than ever, people need hope. So I think, you know, long answer to your question, but it's definitely a way to build trust and authority in a new market, in your community. It's a great way to collaborate. I mean, my podcast here, I was talking to, even when I had a television show way before podcasts, I would go to other local health professionals. I'd go to the local butcher. I would go to the farmer's market. And we would talk about, you know, my focus was on building health, not about disease prevention. That went a huge way in collaboration and becoming known as the chiropractor in the community. People that I don't even know me now. So there's that kind of growth. And then people in your practice love it too. When they can say their chiropractor has a podcast, it causes a ripple effect. I mean, someone might listen to something I say and then realize they have a cousin in Florida that should see a chiropractor. So they might send the podcast, and then next thing you know, they're looking for a referral, and it causes a ripple effect. When we take action in our own communities, it's not just isolated. It has a bigger effect worldwide, and I that excites me. So that's, with my practice. When it comes to my, the consulting and coaching I do, that's probably another whole conversation, but that's also really close to my heart. It is because it creates another whole ripple effect. I can't help everyone in the world get healthier, but I can help docs change their practice and see more people and streamline. And, I always say that happy doctors see more people.
There's no question about that. I know Jason's going to have a follow-up for interviewing other individuals in your community. That's something we talk about quite a bit. And for that Florida referral, I'm in Florida. I'll take it. So thank you very much. That was a message close to home. But you mentioned Facebook groups in a couple different platforms. When you look out and you kind of project forward, as we're hitting, we're into 2022, we're looking forward to the future. What are some of those platforms that you prefer to engage on? Is Facebook still one of your favorites? Do you use Instagram? You put in all the chips towards podcasting. From email marketing is a huge one as well. What are some of the platforms that you love using, maybe wish you used more, or just the different avenues as you've experienced content marketing at scale that have proven the most fruitful for you over time?
I definitely would say podcasting and email, without a doubt. There's no censorship right now, right? On podcasting, and when you have your email list, you own that content. If Facebook, I used to use a ton. I used to host programs through there. It's free. Easy to create a group for your community. I mean, easy to create a paid program where you can then use their software to host it. But I'm not impressed with Facebook right now. And, from their political leanings and their censorship, but also I feel like there's less traction on there without investing in it. I find that the engagement is different now on Facebook. That might just be my personal experience. Maybe the algorithm doesn't like me and what I'm saying. I don't know. But I'm more into podcasting. I don't think is ever going to go away. Even more recent shows I've listened to, they're like, you can say what you want on podcasts because Spotify's not censoring them. So podcasting is great. I think for me, I love Instagram. To me, it started more for fun, just posting random things and stories, but it's definitely become more for business. And email marketing. Yeah, email is still really, you're right in someone's inbox. They don't have to go anywhere else and look, right? So whether it's your patients or your community, and there's so many ways to create great, opt-ins and things for people to find out a little bit about your practice and get a little bit connected with you. And then with email marketing, you can then create automated sequences where you can follow up on people. You can just build a relationship. And we all know how to build relationships with people in person. Building relationships with people in the virtual world is a little different, but it's still very rewarding and very powerful.
It really is, as evidenced by our experience right here, right now. Jeff was right. I do have follow-up questions. You mentioned content marketing. Many chiropractors aren't really sure. They think advertising is marketing, but that's just advertising.
Yeah.
So when we talk content marketing, you did bring up earlier the idea of sort of talking to other people, the butcher, other people, and so on. And I'm sure chiropractors are going, what in the world would a chiropractor ask a butcher about? So the natural inclination for most chiropractors is to talk about all chiropractic all the time. Let me tell you about what I do so I can sell you on my idea. But and your experiences, which I'd love for you to share, that when you actually highlight other people and you bring other people's information to your audience, they'll also bring your information to their audience. Now, a butcher may not have a large audience, but other health professionals in your community do. Tell us more about how that works, the sort of reciprocity of you sharing other people's information with your people, them sharing you with their people, and how it really broadens your audience relatively effortlessly.
Yeah, absolutely it does. I think it first of all depends on your practice philosophy and your practice style. I mean, me going to the butcher shop was important because I believe that health comes from within the body, right? And so my practice is called Thrive. I'm a family wellness practice. I want people to get adjusted because it's crucial for their health, but I also want them to change their life when they're not here. I want them to eat cleaner food, period. So going to the butcher shop and highlighting, look, all this meat comes from this area. It tastes delicious, but more importantly, it doesn't have added hormones, chemicals, like things that don't belong in your body. So that was a fit for me because of my practice style. So I think you first need to know who you are and what your practice model is. If you're a sports doc, that might not fit. But the collaboration piece, I mean, collaboration is powerful in general. The more people that know what you do, and I'll admit it, I think it does take some confidence, and that maybe comes with time. I'm 20 years in practice now. I'm really happy with where I'm at in my practice and what I do. Maybe 15 years ago might not have been, that might not have been as certain for me. I'm even happy to refer to other doctors in my town, other chiropractors that I know will do a better job taking care of someone. Because collaboration, if you're really looking after the patient experience, to me, that's where it's at. But, when you said earlier too, marketing advertising are not the same thing at all. I think of marketing, and I tell people marketing is an invitation. It's an invitation for people to get to know you and to bring them into, to invite them to explore what you do a little bit more. And content marketing is so valuable for healthcare professionals because, it's a way that you can pull people towards you. You're not trying to push all your information on them, right? That's advertising. Here, look at me, look at me, look at me. But, content marketing is a way to pull people into your world of knowledge and expertise in really fun, subtle, aligned ways that fit you and your practice model. So collaboration, I mean, being part of the community, for me, it's fun, but it's created a ripple effect, absolutely, of other healthcare professionals that then refer to me. And even for me, just knowing, even getting started, I would go into these places and say, I want to know more about what you do so that I can help. So I know all the gyms here, whether you love CrossFit or you love yoga or you want to run or you want to join the swim club, whatever floats your boat, right? Just move your body. So I have the perspective of I want to know what's best for my patients. How can your facility help me? And then that just builds a bridge already.
I could not agree more. Melissa, I cannot believe we are out of time on today's segment. You have dropped a ton of gems. I'm going to encourage docs, rewind, make sure that you're listening to what Dr. Melissa spoke about, because getting out there in your community, building those alliances, being true to yourself is just so critical to your overall success. Before we wrap up, Melissa, where can docs learn more about you and what you're up to and how you might be able to even help them in their practice?
The easiest place is rockstardoctorlife.com. That's the podcast name, but it's also the website and, all the current programs. We just launched our Focus Formula program. That next cohort won't be till April, won't be till the spring. I work with people one-on-one. There's lots of freebies and resources there too. And all the interviews are there. So you can find the show on all the podcast platforms, but probably the easiest place is to go to rockstardoctorlife.com.
That's wonderful. Melissa, thanks for taking the time on behalf of Dr. Jason Deitch. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid, and thank you for being our featured guest on today's show.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Great work. Thanks so much.
Great interview with Dr. Melissa Longo. Jason, I loved when she described content marketing as attracting and kind of pulling people towards you instead of advertising, which is pushing people. I loved that analogy. I hadn't heard it before. I'm going to encourage docs, as I said at the end of that interview, please rewind, listen back. There was a lot of great information around content marketing, about getting your message out there, about connecting with other healthcare professionals, utilizing their networks to be able to build your brand in a meaningful way that is symbiotic and complementary, which when that happens, I think everybody wins. Jason?
Melissa's doing everything right. I've never met her in person, but by watching what she's doing online, you want to. She just does it the right way. And what I mean by the right way is she feels extremely authentic. She's willing to share. She lets herself be vulnerable. She's interested in being of service to other people. That's all beyond obvious in both what she says, how she does her videos specifically, but also the consistency in which she shares. That's all part of the equation. It's not just, I did something, I can check that off my list, but it's, I did something, and here's something more I want to share. And here's something more I have for you. It is truly an act of generosity. It's a gift. Now, for many of us introverts, that is not easy for us to necessarily naturally want to do. But it's a great example of, like you say, attracting people to you. That's how people work. That is the chemistry of life, the energy of life. We talk about in our mindset moment the difference between, a piece of metal and a magnet. And a magnet just has that extra energy, that vibration, that energetic signature that attracts people to you. She's doing a phenomenal job, and her tactics are just time-tested, proven tactics. work with others, share with others, cross connect with each other's audiences. The formula's there. You can see it in action. And it was really just an honor to have a great conversation with her.
Indeed. Well done, Dr. Melissa Longo. Thanks for coming on and being our featured guest. And docs, be sure to check out the links that she mentioned. Connect with her, learn from her, check out the podcast. She does a fantastic job with it. We're going to move along to our strategic marketing segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show right about now. Smart Chiropractor Show, April 5th, 2022. We are going to talk about strategic marketing over the next few minutes. And what do I mean by that? Today, we're going to discuss how to create an SEO machine utilizing your chiropractic blog. This ties directly in with what we do with our members each and every week, each and every month, each and every year within the Smart Chiropractor. And we have seen a tremendous amount of success. We wanted to highlight that success so you can take the information, apply it in your own way, or of course, you can always head over to thesmartchiropractor.com and get started with us. But Jason, I'm going to share my screen for a moment here. We're going to head into our members area where our monthly campaigns are. And I'm just going to choose cervical spine from February, a couple months back. I'm going to access some materials here. We're going to wait for that to pop up. And you're going to see there's a blog post section here. So definitely if you are a Smart Chiropractor member, you want to be tuned into this. But if you're not yet a member, we want to show you exactly what happens within our blogs so you can take this knowledge and apply it to your own blogs with your own practice. And I'm going to click into one of them here. So these are one of our weekly topics within our monthly campaigns and our annual calendar. A lot of details there. But you can see right at the top, there's a couple important parts. When we talk about building an SEO machine with your chiropractic blog, there's a very basic tenet, which to attract the traffic, Google needs to know what you're talking about. So there's a couple very clear ways that you can show what you're talking about. Number one is the title of your blog. So you can see, I'm going to highlight that right here where it says title. This was how to get rid of a stiff neck. Now, there is a lot that we could go into in the title itself and in the subject and really responding to what people are searching for, proactively answering the questions that people in your community have in and around their health is often how we think of this, because when you proactively answer the questions, well, when they type a question in, you're more likely to come up. Now, the title is critical, and you can see that title is listed right there. So please ensure if you have your own blog, make sure that you have titling on them. As silly as that sounds, sometimes you might just put the copy in there and not title it appropriately. What else do we have below that? You can see keywords. Keywords are kind of flash indicators to Google about what is this blog about? What is this piece of content about? Now you can see it starts out exactly the same as the title, and that's for good reason. That emphasis is important. How to get rid of a stiff neck. Now, one thing we encourage our docs to do, you can see in red right there, is your city and town. So putting how to get rid of a stiff neck, Tampa, Florida. How to get rid of a stiff neck, localized to your area, increases the likelihood that you are going to be found. And quite frankly, most of the time, that's where the attention that you want is located, in and around your circle of practice. There's exceptions to that rule, but it's a great foundational way to build your website and to build your blog. Down below that, we can see meta description. Meta description is simply what shows up when your Google, should I say, search response comes in. So you go to Google, you type in a question, you type in something, you see the list of responses that Google gives you. Below the headline, there's a couple lines of text on every single Google answer, I guess you could say. And that is the meta description. So you can see with the meta description, we're reinforcing a lot of the same keywords and titling, because the more that you do that, Google starts to put things together, their artificial intelligence, and say, wow, this must be around the neck. This must be a blog piece around a stiff neck. This must be a blog piece by somebody in your town, your city here, Tampa, Florida, related to how to get rid of a stiff neck. The more context clues, they say success leaves clues in business. Well, your blogs need to leave clues for success in and on Google. Now, down below that, you can see where we break up our blogs into the bottom line, why it matters, and next steps. That's for user experience. That's to make a nice, easy reading experience for everybody that comes over. That's going to help with the time on page. It's going to help reduce your bounce rate. There's a lot of technical details I'm getting into there, but The key aspects of building an SEO machine using your blog is, number one, to post consistently. Yes, you might have heard that C word from us before. Consistency is key. So posting consistently at least one time a week is a great opportunity to build a nice resource of material. And then as you build nice titles, as you identify hot keywords, and as you build out those meta descriptions, you will see that more and more traffic and more ideal traffic begins to come to your website. Now, the clincher here, Jason, is of course we help our docs. We're showing within the Smart Chiropractor ecosystem right now. So all Smart Chiropractors receive a new SEO-laden keywords meta description. They got it all done for them each and every week. That is 52 new blogs each and every year to their website. That is a powerful way to drive traffic over time. But if you want to do it yourself, keep an eye on your titling, keep an eye on your keywords and meta description, and stay consistent. Blogs, Jason, a lot of technical details there. High level, what are some takeaways in your mind that docs should know around blogging, their website, and driving traffic?
One of the things I love about many of the techniques and tactics that we talk about, specifically this one, is that momentum matters. The more you do it, the longer you do it, the better results you get. And if you are, again, long-term thinkers like we are, like hopefully you're teaching your people to be, right? Health is a lifestyle. It's something that just continues to go on. You do the right things day in and day out, you accumulate the benefits over time. That's called a healthy lifestyle. Well, think of that exact consciousness as it relates to your communications. Most people limit communications to one and done. I ran an ad. I did a post, I said something, and it's a single individual event. What we're teaching and the tools we provide are the opposite. They are building blocks. And the more you do it, the longer you do it, the more building of resources that you are doing. And everything you're doing works even better over time. So just something to pay attention to. I know a lot of chiropractors go, well, how's writing a blog and putting a meta description getting a new patient in my office tomorrow? Because that's what I need. You want to think about this slightly differently. If you're in that desperate of an emergency, then maybe a few ads to give you the immediate gratification you need to keep the doors open. That's one thing. There's always, if you're starting off practice, things happen, whatever it may be. There's nothing wrong, I'll say, with drugs, with medication, when it's used appropriately and when it's required or when it's necessary. But I think we all know, shouldn't be too much of a debate or argument on this one, that using drugs, using those tools that give you immediate gratification over the long term, expecting long-term benefit. Now that becomes something a little bit nonsensical. Taking medications for pain relief over the long term is not a long-term sustainable solution. So do what you need to do in the short term. Nobody's getting down on doing things that get immediate results. We all love immediate gratification. But these are tactics that build over time, just like staying well adjusted over time only means a healthier human in the long run. Keeping consistent with your communications and your practice works the exact same way. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. We're here to make it easy for you. Great choice. I know a lot of chiropractors have spent a lot of energy and money trying to sort of play the whole SEO game. They spend extra on their websites and they spend a lot of money extra to get the short-term benefit of ranking high. This is the organic, free way to earn high SEO over time. And I like free when you can get it. And I like sustainable over time when you can get it. Great strategy. I'm really glad you brought it up. And I hope people out there are really listening and learning, because this is what the pros know and you want to know too.
I agree, Jason, and thank you. It's no magic. Put out consistent, great content and enable people to find it. And then the magic happens. Magically, people will find you.
That is the magic.
Who would have thought? So, get out there, use there are some of those skills, some of those little tactics we described, titling, meta description, keyword. Feel free to rewind. You can search on Google for additional tips and tricks around that, and head over to the Smart Chiropractor blog. We have a ton of articles all around clinical topics, but many, many around these nuanced details of marketing. Great step-by-step guides. That's blog.thesmartchiropractor.com. You can check it out anytime. There are literally hundreds of articles there. Why? Because we practice what we preach. We realize by putting out consistently great content in and around the chiropractic space, we're going to draw more eyeballs to our website, which is good for our business. You can do the same for yours, and we'll continue to explore those topics on our weekly strategic marketing segment. But Jason, we're getting down to the end of the Smart Chiropractor show on this week's show, but we're going to finish up with business principles. Business principles of the Smart Chiropractor show. This segment is brought to you by the Payday Practice. And Jason, the topics that we talk about within business principles quite often tie into the Payday Practice, and it is going to today as well. Our topic is why calculating your MVMI is critical to monthly recurring revenue success. That's a mouthful. There's a couple topics there. Let's explore together.
Well, let's start off by defining our terms. MVMI stands for your minimum viable monthly income. You may know that as your overhead. If I ask you the question, how much money must you make in order to cover all the bills you must pay next month? There's a number. You can calculate that number. That is your minimum viable monthly income, the least amount of money. Not how much do you want to make, not what's your goal, not what's your dream, but what's the absolute least amount of money you absolutely must make in order to not feel financially stressed out. This is our, chiropractors tend to be counterculture. We tend to be contrarians in the way we think, right? We don't think the way most people think. Unfortunately, more people hopefully over time will think like us. But the contrarian viewpoint of success is really trying to solve for the least instead of trying to go for the grand slam. And when you solve for, the question is why? Why is that better? Why is that different? How is this critical? Well, let's connect a few dots here. What Jeff and I have seen over the decades we've both been doing this meaning helping chiropractors grow their practices by communicating more effectively with their community, more accurately, more authentically, more consistently, has really been our life's work. And what we have found as a response from most of the profession is probably similar to something you're used to. You teach people in your community about healthy living, healthy lifestyles, positive mental attitudes, the importance of taking care of their spine and nervous system, of exercise, movement, yoga, getting proper rest, all of these activities that if you do over time are absolutely guaranteed to be beneficial to you at some point in time. And yet the number one response we get when we teach these long-term strategies is probably the same number one response you get when you teach your long-term strategies. When you teach all these different things and people say to you, yeah, but is that going to get me out of pain? Because that's why I'm here. That's what's bugging me. That's very much the same conversation when we teach these long-term strategies and chiropractors go, but how's that going to get me new patients tomorrow? Because I need new patients tomorrow. You need to relieve the pain. And what we're suggesting, just like you're suggesting, is that if you can solve for your financial stress, as in if people could relieve their pain on a sustainable basis, not just an artificial take the drug, suppress the symptom basis, but to truly correct the cause of the problem, if you could correct the cause of your financial stress, your life would be different. And so there's a very simple formula that we've come up with that is what the Payday Practice is all about. It's the understanding that you have guaranteed payments you need to make next month. It's called your rent, your mortgage, your payroll, insurance, all the other monthly expenses that are guaranteed to have to be paid next month. The question we're asking is, why not start generating guaranteed monthly revenue to meet your guaranteed monthly expenses so that you can start the first day of every month from, oh man, back to zero, here come all the bills, and turn it into payday. You can turn the first of the month into the day that you cover all of your monthly expenses on that first of the month through the magic of monthly recurring revenue. And that's really, in a nutshell, what we're talking about is figure out how much you must earn every month to pay your bills and cover those monthly expenses with monthly recurring revenue. And if you can make those things match and meet, and that's the goal. Rarely does anybody do this day one, week one, month one. It is the goal. But then you can chunk it down. And if you're part of the Payday Practice Accelerator program, or if you're part of what we're teaching in our trainings, what you'll learn is that through scarcity and urgency, by having open enrollment periods, by having limited periods of time where you're selling a certain amount of memberships or subscriptions during that period of time, in order to encourage and invite people to sign up at a special price for a specific time until they cannot any longer, like an open enrollment, you will find that there are specific tactics that you can be using to build your monthly recurring revenue faster than you would otherwise. What's the goal? Is it to get you distracted? Is it to give you more work? Is it to give you just another thing to do when you already got plenty to do? No, none of those things. Our goal is to give you peace of mind. Our belief is that if you could practice without needing the money, if you could do what I was trained to do early on, what inspired me to become a chiropractor, I came through the ranks of understanding that the whole goal of being a chiropractor was to give, love, and serve out of a state of abundance, to be able to do for others what they can't do for themselves, to be able to help people help themselves by giving them the most important thing they could possibly have, and that is their health back. And because they don't understand the philosophy of what we do, and they certainly can't go anywhere else to get their nerve system corrected, their subluxations adjusted, then when people understand your story and they understand your passion for wanting to be of service to them, and most importantly, when you can start sharing your truth, regardless of your immediate ROI that you can measure, you will find you will attract different types of people. In a nutshell, what I'm saying is that if you need more new patients today, your message will be very different to get immediate gratification than if your message is to share your truth and inspire people to live their healthiest life and healthiest lifestyle. Those are two different messages. They'll give you two different outcomes. If you're always stuck in crisis mode, I need more money, nobody's overhead tends to be going lower over time. So this is something that the sooner you start, the more momentum you build. And the magic of what we're talking about here is in the recurring part. We didn't say monthly revenue. We said monthly recurring revenue. That membership or subscription you sell one time and goes on for months, maybe even years, depending on how well you articulate it, explain it, and the value you provide. That is the easiest way for you to practice a sense of truth, of authenticity, and true significance, and probably what you got into practice for. Most chiropractors did not get into practice to be stressed out every month, and yet most of them are. Here's the solution. This is the adjustment you make in your thinking. Few tactics you'll make if you follow the Payday Practice Accelerator program. Jeff, that is why knowing your MVMI, knowing what your overhead is, knowing the least amount of money you have to make to not feel financially stressed out each and every month is the pathway to freedom. Freedom to say what you want, freedom to work with who you want, freedom to work as much or as little as you want. And if you want to learn more, there are 3 specific ways to generate monthly recurring revenue. You'll have to watch another segment to know those 3 different ways. But for today, calculate your monthly overhead and let's start getting curious about what you can do in order to be able to generate monthly recurring revenue on the first of the month that covers your entire month's expenses, so you can be free at last, free at last, free at last.
Jason, great show today. Great business principle segment. I'm bringing us both up on the screen right now so we can close it out on today's Smart Chiropractor show. A couple key points that I think I want to emphasize for docs out there. I know I want to emphasize for docs out there that just listen to your business principle segment is understanding minimum viable monthly income. Critically important. Understanding how much of a benefit recurring revenue can be in a practice. It doesn't need to be 100%. Just shoot for 10, 20% of your revenue to be recurring, and it dramatically changes your ability to show up, be present, have a lot more fun. It opens up opportunities, gives you operating capital, and serves your patients at a higher level. You get to choose how you want to implement it. Fantastic show. We had Dr. Michael Longyear with the clinical conversation all around mental health. I loved it. We started with mindset as always. And you talked about, what's your mindset about your mindset. Get docs thinking about this. We're going to continue to reiterate those messages as time goes on. Dr. James Chapman doing a fantastic job with Dynamic Chiropractic and Rehab. Dr. Melissa Longo, our featured guest, dropping knowledge about business strategies and tactics. We showed docs how they can get started and fine-tune their chiropractic blog to drive more traffic to their website. And we just finished it up with some recurring revenue talk. That's pretty good for a day's work, I gotta say. And I even left out something there, and that was about car accidents, our monthly campaign for our docs, and Whiplash. Regardless of whether you are a PI-focused practice or not, people in your practice are either going to get into car accidents next week. They were in one last week, last month, last year. Being in and around the conversation of whiplash, how it affects the body in the short term and the long term, it's an important conversation to be in, I'm going to say practically regardless of how you practice. And great show. What were some highlights for you?
Yeah, well, I hope chiropractors are listening. We do this show out of our love for wanting to be of service to you, and we teach and we invite. So hopefully you've learned something in what we've taught. Our invitation, engage with us. Leave your comments down below. Let us know, what did you like? Let us know, is there a topic you'd like us to cover? Let us know if you've got some questions. Go ahead and tag some other chiropractors. If you know this is the right thing and the right message, if you see what we see, which is chiropractors being able to share the truth about what they do, not just market what they do to get them in, two different conversations leads to two different perceptions of what our profession is collectively. That means the more of us that are sharing this philosophy, the more of us that can practice financially stress-free, the more of us that can tell the truth about what we do, regardless of if somebody says, well, that's not going to fix my neck pain tomorrow, I guess I'm not coming in, but others do. The more of us that do that, I think the more of us are going to sort of really create the outcomes we're looking for. More respect for our profession, greater utilization for our profession, a clearer understanding of who we are and what we do, and the diversity we have. Stop saying we're all chiropractors doing the same thing, because we are all chiropractors doing very different things. And it's time for us to get more articulate and more clear. The only way to do it is to learn new skills, learn, understand, how do I communicate more effectively, and where do I communicate to reach more people, and how do I automate it all so it's actually easier than what I'm doing now? That's the name of the game. Get engaged. If you want to learn more, all kinds of places. We've talked about the smartchiropractor.com. You can join our private Facebook group on Facebook. Join the conversation. Sooner or later, you're going to join the Smart Chiropractor. We're patient. It's all good. But get involved. Ask questions. Learn from others. Refer others. Share with others. Just get in the game with us, have some fun with us, and together I think we're going to see some pretty miraculous, amazing outcomes working collectively as a team. Maybe for the first time. There's not a lot of chiropractors who know how to work together collectively as a team. We're crazy enough to think that we can. That's one of our sayings, right? You want to change the world? Only those who are crazy enough to think they can do. And we're just that kind of crazy. And if you're that kind of crazy too, come join us.
Absolutely. Docs, thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. Please tune in next week. We'll be back next Tuesday for another Smart Chiropractor show. And if you have not clicked that little dingy button for notifications, when you see we're going live, be sure to do so. You won't miss a thing. You can also check us out on YouTube. Subscribe over there, and you will not miss a segment or a show. Thank you for being a chiropractor. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned in. For Dr. Jason and our entire team, I'm Dr. Jeff. We will see you very soon. Have an awesome night. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.